A hospital waiting room, bright lights, the silence before the storm. A pregnant woman sits alone, gently holding her belly, when her husband's mistress walks in with a smile sharp as a blade. Words turn to poison, and then it happens. The shove that sends the woman crashing to the floor as nurses scream for help. But no one knows that this very moment will ignite a war for truth and power, led by her billionaire father, a man who does not forgive and never forgets. What follows is betrayal, justice, and redemption, like you've never seen before. Tell us what time you're watching and where you're tuning in from. Leave a comment below. The fluorescent lights of Lenox Hill Hospital hummed faintly above the waiting room, their sterile glow reflected off the glass walls, painting everything in a cold, bluish tint. Amelia Hartman sat on the far end of the row of gray chairs, one hand resting protectively on her swollen belly. At 7 months pregnant, she had learned to wait alone. Her phone screen lit up with the time, 10:17 a.m. Her husband was late again. She stared at her reflection in the glass. A pale face, tired eyes, the faint shadow of someone who once believed in fairy tales. Behind her, the television whispered about stock markets and celebrity scandals, the kind of noise that belonged to another world. A nurse passed by and smiled kindly. "Your appointment should be soon, Mrs. Hartman." Amelia returned the smile, but it felt heavy, as if her face had forgotten how. She scrolled through her phone and paused on the ultrasound photo saved as her wallpaper, the tiny outline of a baby's hand. Her thumb brushed the screen gently. "You're my reason," she whispered. The world outside the glass was gray and indifferent. Manhattan mornings always were. The automatic doors hissed open, cutting through the hum of machines. The sound of heels clicked against the polished floor. Every head turned, including hers. Selena Drake entered the room with the kind of confidence that burned everything around her. Her perfume arrived before she did, a sharp, intoxicating scent of jasmine and arrogance. She wore a cream blazer, diamond earrings, and a smile that could slice through silk. When their eyes met, the air changed. Amelia froze. The last time she had seen Selena was through tabloid photos, those glossy shots of her husband, Nathaniel Cross, dining with the mysterious brunette at the Ritz-Carlton. Selena had been the shadow behind the rumors, the woman everyone whispered about but no one dared to confront. Until now. Selena's voice was soft but soaked in venom. "Still pretending you're the wife, Amelia?" Her lips curled upward, the tone almost playful. "You must be exhausted keeping up appearances." Amelia's pulse quickened. She wanted to stand, to leave, to vanish. "This isn't the place," she said quietly. "Please, just go." Selena tilted her head, pretending to think. "Oh, but it's the perfect place. A hospital, full of witnesses, full of pity." She leaned closer, her diamond bracelet glinting under the light. "He's done with you. You're nothing but an inconvenient headline now." Amelia looked down, trying to control the tremor in her hands. "You should leave." Selena laughed softly, the kind of laugh meant to humiliate. "Leave? Why should I? You've had everything handed to you. The name, the house, the money. You think Nathaniel married you for love?" The words stabbed deeper than Amelia expected. She bit her lip, holding back tears. "You don't know anything about us." Selena smiled wider. "I know enough." Her bag brushed against Amelia's knee, deliberate and slow. Then, with one swift movement, she shoved Amelia's shoulder. Hard. The world tilted. The metal chair screeched against the tile as Amelia fell backward. The sound of her cry tore through the waiting room. Pain exploded across her abdomen. She tried to breathe, but the air had turned thick and heavy. Nurses screamed. One shouted for security. Someone hit the alarm. Selena's expression shifted for a split second, from victory to panic. The color drained from her face. Her phone slipped from her hand, clattering across the floor. The screen cracked. For one surreal moment, Amelia saw her own reflection splintered in that broken glass. Then everything blurred, the sound of rushing footsteps, the scent of disinfectant, the cold sting of fear. She gasped for air, clutching her belly as tears streamed down her face. "My baby," she whispered. "Please, not my baby." Two nurses reached her and lowered her onto a gurney. The fluorescent lights above blurred into streaks of white. Her gown clung to her skin, damp with sweat and panic. One nurse shouted, "Room 4 now!" Another held Amelia's hand tightly. "Stay with me. Just breathe." Selina stumbled backward. Her perfect posture was gone. She looked around as the crowd stared in shock. A man near the door yelled, "Did she push her?" Selina's voice broke. "It was an accident." She backed toward the exit, heels slipping on the floor. A silver bracelet slipped from her wrist and rolled beneath a chair, the initials SD engraved faintly on its side. By the time the security guard arrived, Selina had already fled through the sliding doors, the sound of her heels echoing down the hallway. Inside, Amelia's world narrowed to a heartbeat. The rhythmic beeping of the monitor beside her was the only proof that life still existed. The pain came in waves, deep and sharp. She could feel every throb of her pulse against the cold metal rail. "You're going to be all right," a nurse repeated, voice trembling but hopeful. The gurney burst through the emergency doors. White coats surrounded her. The words blurred together: 7 months, possible trauma, fetal distress. The oxygen mask pressed against her face, fogging with every shallow breath. As they pushed her into the exam room, Amelia's vision dimmed. She could hear voices, but they sounded far away, like echoes underwater. Somewhere outside that sterile chaos, rain began to tap against the windows. She imagined the city carrying on, unaware of the life that might be ending inside this cold room. In another part of Manhattan, Nathaniel Cross was seated in a boardroom on the top floor of Cross Holdings, laughing with investors. The skyline gleamed behind him, untouched by consequence. His phone buzzed once, then twice. The caller ID read, "Lenox Hill Emergency." He ignored it, sliding the phone face down on the table. 2 minutes later, across the same city, Alexander Hartman stood by the window of his office at Hartman Capital. His silver hair caught the morning light as his assistant rushed in, holding an iPad. "Sir, there's been an incident at the hospital. It's your daughter." For a moment, Alexander didn't move. The sound of his own heartbeat drowned out the room. Then he turned slowly, eyes cold as the rain outside. "Get my car," he said. "We're going to Lenox Hill." Back inside the hospital, Amelia felt her consciousness slipping. The sterile ceiling lights faded into soft halos. The nurses' voices grew distant. She reached for the air, fingers trembling, searching for something solid to hold. Her lips moved, barely audible. "Please, save my child." Then darkness came, thick, silent, absolute. And as the storm outside broke open, the first chapter of her reckoning began. The rain began to fall just as Alexander Hartman's car turned onto Fifth Avenue. The wipers moved in slow, angry arcs, cutting through the silver streaks on the windshield. Inside the back seat of the black Mercedes, Alexander sat in silence. His phone screen still glowed with the message from Lenox Hill Hospital. "Your daughter has been admitted. Condition critical." He had read those words 6 times, each time slower, as if repetition could make them mean something else. But they did not change. Nothing did. For a man who had controlled billion-dollar markets with a single phone call, Alexander now felt powerless. Across the city, sirens echoed faintly through the rain. His reflection in the tinted glass looked older than it had that morning. The silver in his hair seemed sharper, his eyes darker. His assistant, Lucas Reed, sat in the passenger seat, scrolling through updates from the hospital. "They say she's stable but still unconscious," Lucas said quietly. "The doctors are monitoring both her and the baby." Alexander didn't answer. He kept his gaze fixed on the blur of headlights outside. "Who called it in?" he finally asked. "The nurse at reception," Lucas replied. "Apparently there was an altercation." Alexander turned his head. "What kind of altercation?" Lucas hesitated. "A woman attacked her." The words hung in the air like smoke. Alexander leaned back, his jaw tightening. "A woman?" "Yes, sir. They're checking the security footage now. The police have already been informed." The car slowed as they reached the hospital entrance. Paparazzi were not there yet, but they would be soon. Alexander knew how quickly Manhattan devoured stories like this. A billionaire's daughter, attacked in public, was a headline too tempting to resist. He stepped out of the car before the driver could open the door. The cold rain hit his face, but he did not flinch. Inside the hospital lobby, nurses whispered as he walked past. His presence carried a quiet gravity, the kind that silenced rooms without a word. He went straight to the reception desk. "Amelia Hartman," he said. "Where is she?" The nurse recognized him instantly. "Room 7, intensive observation." He nodded once and started down the hall, his shoes echoing against the linoleum. Each step felt heavier than the last. Through the glass window of room 7, he saw her, his daughter. Tubes, monitors, white sheets, pale skin. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor filled the silence. For a moment, Alexander could not breathe. The last time he had seen her was 2 weeks earlier at the family townhouse. They had argued about Nathaniel, about loyalty, about pride. She had left in tears, telling him that he cared more about reputation than happiness. Now she lay before him, fragile and still. The father who had once believed money could fix everything realized how wrong he had been. A doctor approached quietly. "Mr. Hartman, your daughter is stable for now. There was abdominal trauma, but the baby's heartbeat remains strong. We've sedated her to keep her calm." Alexander nodded slowly. "Will she recover?" "With rest, yes, but she will need constant monitoring. The stress alone could trigger complications." He looked through the glass again. "And the person who did this?" "We're identifying her now," the doctor replied. "Security is reviewing footage. The police are already involved." Alexander's voice lowered.